Nothing Personal starts in 30 seconds. It's just business. This is Nothing Personal.
Here you go.
There is nothing I like better than starting a show 2 seconds after having an argument with Coca. Every day, Coca and I are talking pre-show, getting ready to give you the news of the day, the sports business news, a little culture, little entertainment, and Coca, as the producer who's been with me for 1,265 episodes, finds a way to be motivating and calming. Let's get this show going. Let's be great. We've got this. His last words to me in my ear: "You don't know what the hell you're talking about." Are you kidding me? Quick question before we start our show. Well, we're starting our show. Do you know what the owner of your favorite team does for a living? For those of you in Miami, lovers of the Heat, do you know what Mickey Arison does for a living? I assume that all of you know that he's the chairman of Carnival Corporation. Do you know, Met fans out there, what Stevie Cohn does? He's a hedge fund manager and owner. I would assume you all know. So I'm taking a little poll here. If you're live, Nothing Personal live with, I can't even think of my YouTube channel, our YouTube channel. That's unbelievable what's happening in my brain right now because I'm so focused on Coca and him starting the show this way. Get into my YouTube channel, get into the chat, or go to davidsamsonpodcast.com. And I'm taking a poll. Do you know what your team's owner does for a living? It's absurd. Oh, yes.
You move the goalposts here. This is not what you said.
It's exactly
You said,
what I said.
no, it isn't. You didn't say favorite team, my favorite team. You said other teams' owners. What do other teams' owners do to get their money? You didn't say favorite team, and you just told people that I said favorite team, which is not true.
It's amazing that you want to make this correction now, which is totally fine in the middle of a show. We can make it now, and we will make the poll. Do you know what all team owners do for a living? Does that make you happier, Coca?
That would be more accurate than what you said.
Fine. That's the poll then. Put it on that poll. Do you know what all team owners do for a living or how they made their money? And the majority of people will know what the majority of owners do, but it doesn't take away the fact that the lack of motivating talk prior to the start of the show. When I was ready to start with the word of the day, Huey Lewis, which is another one you didn't agree with, but I'm in no mood today to deal with your generational making fun of me because you've never heard of one of the great songs ever by Huey Lewis called If This Is It. Because it's a song. If this is it, please let me know. If this ain't love, you better let me go. That's the Nothing Personal word of the day. Huey Lewis. Do you know why? Because if this is it for the Miami Heat, please just let me go. That's how I spent last night. In a bizarre, I took a picture of it, Coca, and I didn't send it to you because I don't know why I didn't. But for people watching on YouTube, it's a quick photo that you may be able to see on camera. You may not. If not, it's a photo of two screens. The two screens that I was watching, big screen Panthers Lightning, little screen Heat Cavaliers. And the reason why the Heat Cavaliers was on the little screen is the Heat were down by about 50. And the Panther Lightning game was an incredibly close game. So I'm watching, and the dichotomy of the two franchises, there is a close-up of Pat Riley that TNT kept showing. Pat Riley sits diagonally behind the basket. He has an area for himself. He used to sit behind, sort of across from the Heat bench, and then he moved to a place at the AAA, or now the Kasaya Center, which is pretty behind the basket off to the right. He sits with Alonzo Mourning, and the camera knows where to go to see him, and they kept showing him during the game. Why? Because the Heat were down 3-0 going into the game. They had suffered a huge defeat in Game 3. They had lost by like 38 points. And when Game 4 started, before you knew it, there's the picture right now of Pat Riley. I've known Pat Riley. Don't look at me. I've just known him for decades. And before I knew him, he was the coach of my favorite team, the Knicks. And for me, Pat Riley has this aura of perfect, this aura of accomplishment, this aura of smooth confidence with the greased back, slick back hair that you saw come to life on Winning Time, that great show. That picture of Pat Riley that we just showed you is him watching the end of his career. Pat Riley, as the steward of the Heat, is a Hall of Fame executive, not just for what he did with the Heat as coach of the Showtime Lakers, as coach of the Knicks, who went to the finals and almost was able to beat a Jordan-less NBA and lost to Olajuwon. Pat Riley, who defected to the Heat and made me so angry as a Knicks fan, but then I got to work with him when I moved to Miami in 2002. Pat Riley, first ballot. He's looking at that game yesterday. The third worst halftime deficit in NBA playoff history. They were down 43-17 at the end of the first quarter. They were down by as many as 60 points during the course of the game. An elimination game. To the point where at halftime, the inside the NBA crew, Charles Barkley, Ernie Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith, accused a Pat Riley team of quitting. Charles Barkley saying, I don't normally use the word quit or choke, but this is quitting at its finest. Ernie Johnson, this is the worst game I've ever watched. This is Pat Riley. Pat Riley wakes up this morning recognizing that change needs to happen. You don't do anything emotionally after a series like that when you have been beaten by a team that is clearly better than you. It's not about the game yesterday. People are very confused. And Erik Spoelstra didn't do anything to help with clarity. Listen to what Spoelstra said after the game.
It was humbling. You know, this series was humbling. These last two games were embarrassing. But Cleveland's also a very good team. We won whatever we won. They won 65. We're as irrational as we usually are, thinking that we have a chance to win this series. And they showed us why, you know, we weren't ready, you know, for that.
That's Spoelstra telling you something that as a president of basketball ops or as an owner, that is pretty much the end of that reign with Spoelstra and Riley. Him telling you, however irrational it was for us to think that we had a chance to compete. I don't care what size underdog you are, what you are projected to be. You do not go into a series thinking that you cannot win. However, the job of an executive is to properly identify your team. Identify, remember, we talk about this in baseball. You've got till the summer to decide, July, whether your team is what you thought it was or what your team is not what you thought it was, and admitting the mistake you made. The Heat made a mistake thinking that trading Jimmy Butler, God knows they have to watch Jimmy Butler right now for Golden State be playoff Jimmy. They have to watch Golden State as a 7 seed take a commanding lead over the number 2 seed Houston Rockets. They have to watch Jimmy Butler score 14 in a fourth quarter and lead that team to a win, even with a hurt Tuchus. They have to realize that what Pat Riley did is let Jimmy Butler win by trading him to Golden State with what they claim was a good trade, which obviously was not. They have to deal with an overpaid team of mediocre players, whether it is Bam Adebayo, who has 4 years left, and he's going to be making over $50 million for 3 of the last 4 years. You have to recognize that Tyler Hero, when he says, we're not good without Jimmy, I miss Jimmy. Jimmy had to do what Jimmy had to do. Horse hockey. Jimmy was allowed to do what he did by Pat Riley in an absolute showing of age and a change in intestinal fortitude to do what's right for your team over the objection of what a specific individual wants. The Miami Heat, as they are constituted, are not one player away from being a Pat Riley team that can win. Whether they trade for Giannis, whether they trade for Kevin Durant, combining Durant with their big 2 of Hero and Adebayo will not make a difference. Replacing Durant or Giannis with Adebayo or Hero in a trade where everyone should be eligible to be traded, because you can't leave this season. Forget the last 2 games. People get emotional when you break records. The Heat lost by 55 points last night, 138-83, and the thought is we are embarrassed. We are irrational. Bam Adebayo, listen to what he said about this.
To change? I don't know. It's going to be a lot of changes this summer. Just from my point of view, understanding how, the guy with the silver hair works. So just be prepared for that.
The guy with the silver hair could either be Mickey Arison or Pat Riley. My guess is he's referring to Pat Riley. And the picture we showed you with the silver hair, the reality is that Bam Adebayo is part of the problem, but that problem starts with Pat Riley. And I love Pat Riley. I respect Pat Riley, but him watching this team, those 2 games, not relevant. Him understanding the team that he constructed, that he thought was in the best interest of winning this year, next year, getting another title. He is absolutely wrong in the evaluation of his players, and it's never happened before. He's made some questionable signings with the Heat. We can go back to Hassan Whiteside. We can go back to a bunch of guards. We can talk about the trade for Terry Rozier. We can talk about myriad things. But if you're the owner of the Heat, you have to make a tough decision. And the tough decision is, are we better off giving the keys to Pat Riley to fix this? Or are we better off changing the roles of Pat Riley and Erik Spoelstra? I want to mention to all of the Miami people or all of the people who watch that game, you're going to hear Charles Barkley and everyone else talk about how they quit. And I would only remind you that a baseball team, when they get no hit, they look flat. When they don't score many runs, they look like they're not playing hard. Sometimes you just get beaten by a better pitcher. Sometimes you get beaten by a better team. And you cannot, as the leader of a team, mistake the 2 issues. Getting beaten by a better team is one thing. Quitting is another. I'm not accusing the Miami Heat of quitting. What I am accusing the Miami Heat of is actually thinking that they were good enough to be on the court with the Cleveland Cavaliers as the 10 seed that became an 8 seed with 2 historic road victories, becoming the first 10 seed to become the 8 seed. And all of a sudden they lose 4-0, which is what they should have done, because that's how the gap is between the haves in the Eastern Conference and the have-nots, or the haves in the NBA and the have-nots. The Miami Heat are have-nots. And as a team, you've got to beware when that happens. And the best executives stop it before it actually happens, because then you've doubled down and it becomes too late. And when you look at the amount of money owed to players on the Heat who will not help them win, you recognize and realize that what the executives have done is put you in a position to fail. There will be changes after the season. The Heat aren't the only team that gets a rude awakening during the playoffs. Rude awakenings come several ways. When you get swept by a team that you know you're not as good at, as you cannot say to yourself it's a rude awakening. You say it in public, though. You do what Spoelstra and Bam did. Totally fine. But if you're a good executive, you know going into a series what's what and who's who. The Milwaukee Bucks had something else happen to them, which changes how you evaluate your team. When Lillard tears his Achilles after having worked back from a blood clot, he was not sharp in the games in which he returned, and then he went down with an Achilles tear, reminiscent of Kevin Durant, same age, back from injury, then the Achilles tears, and then he's out for a year. Next year, he's gone. The Milwaukee Bucks are in a position where they have to make changes to their team, not because it was evaluated wrong, which I could argue it was, and we'll get to that in a minute, but because they have an injury and there's nothing they can do about that. All I kept thinking when Lillard went down with his Achilles that was confirmed to be torn yesterday is that it is only a matter of moments until the Pacers eliminate the Bucks. And then it will only be a matter of moments until the trade speculation will rise to the level of a deafening wail, A-I-L, not H-A-L-E, that Giannis will want to be traded. Giannis will come out and ask to be traded because Giannis is well aware that notwithstanding the irrational exuberance of Doc Rivers, who is so excited that the Bucks GM just signed a multi-year contract extension, so excited, I guess, because they're a team and Doc Rivers has a chance to lose another playoff series and not get fired. Doc Rivers said that the signing of their GM, John Horst, it's just the news I've been waiting for. I'm just very happy for him. He's done an amazing job. We have an amazing relationship. It creates stability. Kumbaya, my lord. Kumbaya. Do you know when coaches and managers really like GMs? When GMs say to them, hey, I got you, and I promise that if I get fired, you get fired. But short of that, I'm never firing you. Yeah, had that. Had that with the GM. And then, of course, the GM got fired because I wasn't the owner. Sounds like I went back on my word, but I meant it. The Milwaukee Bucks have a small problem. They have $133.7 million in salary on the books next year for 3 players. Guess who? Lillard's one of them. About to start a 2-year, about $56 million per year extension, but he's not going to play a minute. Giannis has 2 years at $62.8 million. I could argue he's in his prime still, but certainly with the team around him in Milwaukee, they are not even close to the cream of the crop. Cream of the crap? There you go. 4.869. 4.879. The Milwaukee Bucks are not close to the cream of the crop in the Eastern Conference or the Western Conference. They have no title aspirations. Giannis is in his prime. When you are paying that amount of money in a disastrous trade they did for Kyle Kuzma, yes, the same GM, his play has been absolutely horrific since the trade for Chris Middleton. When you look out at that team and you are the GM or the owner of the Bucks, if you can rip yourself away from Aaron Rodgers and a dinner, you may realize that you are between a rock and a hard place because like many teams, like the aforementioned Heat, you have put your chips in the table. This is what happens in a salary cap world and a salary floor world. You've got to pay people. You've got to get to a number. And then when you win, you double down and extend people thinking that that's going to continue forever. And then you're screwed. We see it over and over again in multiple sports, whether it's mortgaging your future and you're the Los Angeles Rams after winning the Super Bowl, whether it's going for it like the Dolphins and not winning the Super Bowl and then having to scale back, or the Padres. There are myriad teams who go all in and then don't win, which is worse than going all in and winning once and then having to scale back. But going all in and not winning, what do? You've backed yourself into a financial corner with these contracts. Even, by the way, the Cavaliers, no joke, their payroll is about to get out of control also, but they're trying to win the title this year, and then they say, hey, it's worth it. And why do I know that? Because I said it too. When you put the ring on your finger, you excuse all types of ills. All types of mistakes get washed away. Bad trade? No way. We have a World Series. Overpaid that player? No way. We have a World Series. Totally screwed 3 years from now? Doesn't matter. We have a World Series. The crazy part about the sport and the business that I spent 18 years of my life in is that I am chasing my tail every day. And when I get to the mountaintop, all I do is walk over the summit, right back down, and I slip all the way just to try to climb back up. And when you have weights on your ankles, it makes it super hard to climb back up, but you fall down really fast. And the contracts on these players, with the combination of lack of first-round picks that these teams have. Think about the New York Knicks, by the way, as all of us do who are Knicks fans. They traded all of their picks to get Mikal Bridges. They have nothing. You better hope this team can get out of the first round against the Pistons and then get out of the second round against the Celtics or Magic, and then get out of the conference and win a title, because other than that, you're in a position again where you're down the mountain with weights on your ankle. Now, don't get me wrong. I feel for Lillard. I do, because getting hurt, it's a nightmare. But the Milwaukee Bucks are going to need to make some changes, and they're going to need to acknowledge the truth about their team. And that is why wait to see is when I tell you something's going to happen. If it does, fine. If it doesn't, fine. We'll revisit this. Giannis is going to be traded by Milwaukee. We will make that expire before the end of next season. Wink, wink, it's going to be sooner. But Giannis will be traded by the Bucks, because the Bucks are going to have the player move where Giannis demands a trade, and they're going to have no choice but to move him, because they know with him, they have zero chance, 0.0, Blutarski style, they have zero chance of winning as currently constituted. Winning, that is what we are about every day. It's all we care about when we run a team. We can pretend we care about community, this and that. No, we want to win. The thing about winning a title is it comes with several things. One of the cool things is you get to go to the White House. I remember clear as day when we clinched on October 25th of 2003, won a World Series. One of my first three thoughts was, wow, we get to go to the White House. My other one is that Jack McKeon gets to be the all-star coach the next season, the all-star manager. The other one was, oh my God, I'm going to get a World Series ring, not a pennant ring. Those were my three immediate thoughts, even before hugging anyone around me. Winning and going to the White House, it's not supposed to be political. It's supposed to be something that you do regardless of who is president. The honor of going and being recognized by the leader of your country, by presenting a jersey, by being in the room where it happens politically, whether you are on the right or the left, it was supposed to be about the acknowledgement of the win. The Philadelphia Eagles went to the White House yesterday, and it became a political nightmare. Lisping tweeted, the following players have scheduling conflicts if they can't come. I'm going to tell you how these White House visits work, because I scheduled one and did one. It is absolute horse hockey that there are scheduling conflicts. There are players who did not go to the White House because they chose not to go to the White House because they did not want to be associated with Donald Trump. Hard stop. No scheduling conflicts. Of course, the White House and the Eagles will say that because they don't want to call the player out. I have great respect if a player does not want to go to the White House. Free country. Remember our view here on Nothing Personal. Live and let live. I will not criticize anybody's decision to do something that doesn't get in the way of me living my life and doing what I want to do. Not showing up to the White House, don't care. What I do care about is that the number of people out there who are taking shots at Saquon Barkley, who happens to be, as I told you after I spent time with him, one of the nicest, best players I've ever met. And he is getting crushed for playing golf with Trump, for going on Marine One, for going to the White House to be recognized the way he was recognized. What is the matter with people who are, as a matter of fact, Coca, I'm completely wrong. Of course, in this day and age, there are people who extrapolate by one's actions that therefore they are either with me or against me, and there is no in between, because that's our world right now. You either agree with me in my echo chamber or you don't exist. Don't you dare debate me. Don't you dare try to have intellectual discourse with me about politics, about sports, about business. I will not allow that because you have an ulterior motive. You must be against immigration, pro-immigration. You must be racist, not racist. You must be conservative, liberal. I just want to talk about issues. I want to learn from you, and I want you to learn from me, and I want to see if there's an opportunity for any sort of growth, any sort of ability to be empathetic, meaning understanding that there could be a second side to a story. Saquon had to send a tweet that said, some people are really upset because I played golf and flew to the White House with the president. Maybe I just respect the office. Not a hard concept to understand. I golfed with Obama not too long ago and look forward to finishing my round with Trump. Now you get out of my mentions with all this politics and have an amazing day. Saquon, I'm tipping my cap to you. Whatever I believe about Trump or don't believe about Trump and the politics and the state of the country and what's going on in the legal system, what's going on with our secondary institutions, whatever I believe about any of that, there is an overarching belief that people are allowed to do X without it guaranteeing that it means Y. Saquon put it perfectly, and the mentions behind that tweet, the vitriol for the gall of Saquon to play a round of golf with Donald Trump is hard for me to imagine. Does that mean, I just want to make sure that before I move on to something else here, are you always a reflection of those with whom you spend a moment? Do you know exactly at work everybody and what they do in their personal life? Do you know everybody's political views, all of your friends? Do you stop being friends with someone if they don't agree with what you agree with politically? You can be drawn to people who are like you. That is very common. That is how cliques form. That is how homogeny is manifest when you go somewhere. People want to be around people who look like them, feel like them, think like them. Man, that's a pretty narrow way to live, though. The best way to live is to actually surround yourself with all types of people, places, things, concepts, prejudices, because it gives you frames of reference. It allows you to actually decide for yourself what it is that you believe or why it is you believe what you believe. Jeffrey Lurie is the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, not to be confused with Jeffrey Luria, who I'm going to mention later on in the show. Jeffrey Lurie said today the Eagles were honored to participate in the long-standing tradition of visiting the White House to celebrate our victory. We're grateful for the hospitality we were extended, appreciate the opportunity to celebrate. He talked about what the team did while in Washington. We visited Arlington National Cemetery, paid our respects to those who sacrificed their lives for our country. He ended his statement by telling us, our time in our nation's capital served as a great reminder of the core values that have brought our team so close together: sacrifice, selflessness, and discipline. Does that mean that Trump stands for all of those things or that he doesn't? Does it mean that there are not people in Washington who do things that Jeffrey Lurie disagrees with, whether it's on one side of the aisle or not? Of course it doesn't mean that. Definitionally, you're going to disagree with people, but it doesn't mean you don't do what's right. Visiting the White House, it's right. It feels right. It is right. You deserve it when you win something. Don't get on Saquon. All right, when we come back, I'm going to review a movie, and I'm going to ask you all to take a breath and stay with me. We're then going to talk about another meeting. It's a pretty heavy Trump show today, and it's not really at all political, but I would like to talk about a movie I reviewed called We Will Dance Again, and we're then going to talk about Rob Manfred's meeting with Donald Trump so I can explain to you what that means and what's going to happen because of that meeting, and I'll do that all after the break. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It's David Samson coming at you live every day, 8 a.m. You can catch us on the DraftKings Network at 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. May or may not be a coincidence that there's a 2-hour slot right now on DraftKings. I'm watching a movie every day, no matter how busy I am or how less busy I will be going forward. What does matter is that I care about movies. I care about movies that make me feel something. And I watched a documentary on Paramount Plus called We Will Dance Again. It is a movie about an hour and a half, a documentary. I would call it a flash doc, meaning it came out very quickly. It's about the October 7th massacre at the music festival in Israel. And there is tremendous amounts of video taken from people at the festival because now everyone's got a video camera. You don't need a crew. Everyone's taking video. You just need someone to collate it and edit it into a film. For those of you who don't know what happened on October 7th, there was a war started by Hamas, which is a militant Palestinian group. They killed Israelis in a number that had not seen happen since the Holocaust. And it started a war that continues to this day where tens of thousands of people have died. It has become a huge political issue. It has led to rampant anti-Semitism and the ability to feel and act anti-Semitic. It has made people confused how you can be anti-war and pro-Israel. The feeling is you can't be both. There is one thing that is incredibly clear. No one wins in a war. People die on both sides. But it is equally clear that what happened on October 7th was a simple terrorist attack. A terrorist attack that forced Israel to respond. Hard stop. When you watch this movie, if you watch it and come out of it saying, this makes sense, this is what should have happened on October 7th. This type of attack on innocent people, this should have happened. If you come off this movie and say, this wasn't good, but how could Israel do what it's doing right now? You're missing the point. You're not understanding the theory of war. You're not understanding how it works when you have to defend your country and you have to defend yourself. You're not understanding what happened in our country after 9/11. If you are of the opinion, hey, whatever happened 9/11, not great, but that was no reason for the United States to go after Osama, to go after a war, to make up there were weapons of mass destruction, whatever the case may be, then you were not a part of what happened. And you watch this movie, you're a part of October 7th. You see it up close through the eyes of those who survived and those who didn't. You see video of people dancing, of people on ecstasy, having the time of their lives, and all of a sudden, they are dead. The emotion of the movie for me was not as a Jew, which I am. The emotion for me was not as a New Yorker, which I was during 9/11. The emotion of me is not my understanding and my knowledge of previous world wars and the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and trying to understand issues while having no direct privity to it. While I did have direct privity to 9/11 and to the attacks on October 7th, The emotion of "We Will Dance Again" is the message. The message of the difference between right and wrong. And what I'm tired of today, and I don't understand anyone who disagrees with this, and here's where I'm different than normal on Nothing Personal, where I give you facts on one side or another that I believe to be facts and let you decide where you stand. I don't want to tell you what to believe politically, religiously, spiritually, what you should believe or not believe from a business standpoint. There are some things in the world, though, that to me are very, very clear. Not many of them. I live in a cloudy world. It is clear as day to me that what happened on October 7th can't happen in a world where anyone cares about peace or anyone has respect for another person's life or beliefs. It can't happen. I'd like you, whatever side you are on, whatever flag you carry, just watch We Will Dance Again. You have to work with the people in charge. We have an interesting democracy here in the U.S. We voted for Donald Trump. We, maybe me, maybe not me, maybe you, not you. Enough people voted for Donald Trump that he's our president. Period. A president is one of the three branches of government. There are three branches of government. There is a lot of talk about the legislative branch and the judicial branch, which are two of three, and how they are being overwhelmed by the executive branch right now. There is a ton of stories you could read, and you could hear us talk about how there are risks right now to the branches of government and the way they're supposed to work together, because the executive branch is doing things that are in exact opposition to the legislative and judicial branch. And it is a delicate balance that is supposed to exist. And on top of those three prongs is where democracy lives. But when you are in business, there is one thing very clear, and I've told you this about baseball. You give money to people on both sides of the aisle, because then no matter what, you've given money to a winner. And no matter what, you maintain your influence and your relationships on Capitol Hill and in the executive Oval Office. Very, very common. Every business, if you go look, while often you're just shown a list of people who give to one side or the other, you will find that the majority of people and companies give to both. When Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, goes to meet with Donald Trump, does that mean that he agrees with Donald Trump as a politician? No, it's not relevant. Rob Manfred is going on behalf of 30 owners, some of whom agree with Trump, some of whom don't, but all of whom need the cooperation of the executive branch, along with the judicial and the legislative branch. Standard. Rob Manfred meeting with Donald Trump is the way that commissioners meet with presidents every single time. There are major issues going on right now that baseball needs to deal with and be protected from. Notwithstanding the reality that Donald Trump tweeted, by the way, you're an idiot if you don't reinstate Pete Rose. Out of nowhere, I'm pardoning Pete Rose. He ought to be reinstated. Remember, Donald Trump said he was going to do an executive order pardoning, which he has the right to do. He can't get him in the Hall of Fame, but he can pardon him from his tax case where he was found guilty. I guess you could do that. But Rob Manfred goes to that Oval Office not to talk about Pete Rose. He's going to the Oval Office to talk about the importance of the visa issue, because our visa issue in baseball is significant. We have more people coming in on 12B1s than I can possibly tell you, trying to get people to come work here from the Dominican, from Venezuela. Those who do not have citizenship, we try to get them green cards. If they're good, when they're bad, we let them go back and we don't care. Release them. See you later. Not pleasant, but part of life. Rob Manfred making sure that he's got buy-in from the Oval Office understanding that there's got to be some sort of visa deal situation where the ability for baseball to do business does not get compromised because there is a moving back and forth through the borders in the Dominican and Venezuela all the time with players, scouts, staff. There are people now who don't want to cross the border because they fear they will not be allowed back. Rob Manfred has to make sure baseball players do not ever get put in that position. If it means that you talk about other stuff too, when you're in that meeting in the Oval Office, then you do. Rob Manfred came out and said, I met with President Trump 2 weeks ago. One of the topics was Pete Rose, but I'm not going beyond that. He said what he said publicly. I'm not going beyond that in terms of what the back and forth was. Why does it matter for Rob to comment about the Pete Rose tweet and the conversation about Pete Rose? That's because when you have an issue that matters to you financially, economically, spiritually, emotionally, and you are meeting with someone who can help with that issue, there is a back and forth that happens, a negotiation that happens. Do I believe that Rob Manfred met with Donald Trump for the sole purpose of talking about Pete Rose? Absolutely not. The impact of Pete Rose on baseball today, the impact of a posthumous removal from the permanently ineligible list, the economic impact of that is de minimis at best. But the economic impact of some of the other things that are being threatened, whether it's the antitrust exemption, whether it's taxes on the rich, whether it is a visa problem for workers, that has real impact on the people Rob serves, and there's 30 of them. What do? Very simply, you tell the president, I'll take care of Pete Rose. You take care of what I need taken care of. And then you've got the makings of a business deal, a smart business deal. Donald Trump gets to say, look, I've got power. I tweeted, draft Shedeur Sanders, you prize fools. And the Browns did it. And then he takes credit for it. I tweeted, Pete Rose needs to be eligible for the Hall of Fame and in the Hall of Fame. And all of a sudden he's off the permanently ineligible list. Donald Trump gets the victory. Fine. Him getting the victory in PR is not of great interest to people in business. What is of great interest to them is the impact on their business. I don't know if you know this, but when you're on the permanently ineligible list for the Hall of Fame, death does not take you off that list. So Pete Rose is still on the permanently ineligible list, which means he can't be considered by the Hall of Fame for induction. Side note, baseball doesn't control the Hall of Fame. People just think they do. The Hall of Fame is run by Jane Forbes Clark, who is the chairwoman, the owner. It is run by committees, of which there are MLB personnel on, but it is controlled by the Hall of Fame. If you are Rob Manfred, you leave that meeting with Donald Trump and you've made it clear, I will take Pete Rose off the permanently ineligible list, but you've got to give me what I want. I am 100% positive that Pete Rose will be taken off the permanent ineligible list because it is such an obvious thing for the commissioner to do because there's bigger fish to fry. Let the Hall of Fame deal with it. Add it to the wait to see, Coca. People aren't going to talk about it today, but we'll revisit it. Official wait to see. Pete Rose will get taken off the permanent ineligible list. Just wait to see. Nothing. Personal pick of the day. Boom. We had the Rockets plus 3.5 over the Warriors. The Warriors won by 3. Playoff Jimmy. But that's a win. That's a cover for the Rockets. What a game. And it was Patrick Corbin Day. You know what that means? That means the Aths were going to beat the Texas Rangers. And they did. If you haven't watched the Oakland 4869. If you haven't watched I'm having a day, Coca. If you haven't watched the Aths closer, then you are missing a guy who blows 102 with a hard slider that is impossible to hit. do yourself a favor and watch Miller pitch. But we got a 2-0 night last night. We are 48-48. I got 2 picks today for you again. Number 1, the Knicks are 5.5 points over the Pistons. The Knicks will get rid of the Pistons. I am going to the game tonight with the former owner of the Marlins, Jeffrey Loria, who invited me to the game because we had a bet when it was 1-1 going to Detroit. Mr. Loria said it's going to be 3-1 Pistons for Game 5. And I said, if it's 3-1 Pistons going into Game 5, I will buy you dinner and I will buy 2 tickets to the game and we will go. But if it's 3-1 Knicks, then you have to buy me dinner and buy me tickets to go to the game. And guess what? Bingo. 3-1 Knicks, I win. So I'm going to the game and getting a free steak dinner before at this amazing steakhouse in the neighborhood. The second pick of the day is a bit different. Do you know the Marlins are playing in Los Angeles? The payroll disparity between the Dodgers and Marlins is staggering. Whether you've got the Dodgers at 476 or 380 for active, or you're looking at their 15 people on their DL, Tyler Glasnow was just added to the injured list. Whether you know the Marlins have the lowest payroll in baseball, whether you call it 69 nice or you call it 88, however you measure it, this is a series between 2 teams on the opposite end of the payroll scale. But in baseball, a funny thing happens on the way to the final score. When the first pitch is thrown, not the ceremonial first pitch, the actual first pitch, all of a sudden, it's just 2 teams where on any given day, if you're not the Rockies, you have a chance to win. The Marlins lost to the Dodgers last night on a Tommy Edman home run, but it was a tight game. And there's a game tonight back at Chavez Ravine where Sandy Alcantara, wait for this, is plus 160. It was a walk-off single by Edman. Why did I think he hit a home run? I may have the wrong game. Thank you, Coca. Sandy Alcantara is plus 160 tonight. We'd have to go back to every one of Sandy's starts over his career when he's been healthy. I can't imagine there's another time he's ever been plus 160. To think I'm not going to take Sandy and his ability to shut down that Dodgers lineup with a plus 160, I'm doing it. The value's too good. Marlins plus 160 over the Dodgers. I want to end today with a congratulations to the Washington Commanders and to the people who live in Washington, D.C. You've done it. You got yourself a new stadium. Daniel Snyder took 24 years, shot blanks. Josh Harris took about 24 months, and he struck a $3.8 billion deal where you're going back to D.C., baby, the land of RFK. Now it's more than a stadium. It's got the huge. It's the district. There's going to be housing, hotels, space, all the usual stuff that will help the mayor sell this because it was announced yesterday, a done deal, but it's far from done. There are myriad votes that have to take place. But the mayor, who's in favor, said, we are going to take this land that's been blighted and underused for too long. We're going to build it out. We're going to have economic impact. Huge economic impact by bringing the Commanders back to their rightful home in the district. All for the very small price, wait for it, stay calm, of $1.1 billion. That is the amount of public money going into this project at the least. This new stadium, which is going to open in 2030. If you want to do the math and say that Josh Harris is putting in $2.7 billion and the public is putting in $1.1 billion, what a great deal. What a great deal for the public. You're forgetting what the district just did with Ted Leonsis. You're forgetting the fact that the district has significant money problems. You're forgetting the fact that there's opposition to this in a way that makes it seem as though this deal is far from actually done, but it's another of these, hey, let's announce it and do it prematurely and hope that we can fake it until we make it. You're not going to hear much about all the debt that exists because of the Nationals ballpark, which was built totally with public money. You're not going to hear about the other reserve issues that the district has. how they have a depleting amount of money, how they have a budget crisis. And I'm not against public financing of buildings. What I am against is premature celebrations. What a premature celebration saying, hey, we're going to get Super Bowls, Final Fours, Taylor Swift concerts. It's all coming to the district because we are going to have this building open in 2030, and we've got the price tag down. We know it will only be $600 million for parking and related infrastructure. We know that we'll only have to put $500 million in for stadium costs because we've got Josh Harris over a barrel. Well, he'll do the overruns. It's the same story yet again. Josh Harris gets a press conference. The mayor gets to do a victory lap. And then you look right at the camera and you simply say, it's just business. It's another stadium deal. This is nothing personal.